I'm not okay. I think you're talking now. Hello and welcome back to the show, and welcome back to the Heinz Report. I go by the name of Dr. Heinz, and on this channel we do deep dives into legal cases. And today we are looking back onto the Jonathan Majors case, and we are going through the verdict, discussing what went on the final day when all of this went down, the closing arguments, the and I have two lovely, amazing ladies with me, who go by the name of Nat Lawyer Chick and the one and only Danny. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Great. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday.
Yes. Thursday before Christmas.
That's right.
Thank you once again for joining me, because this verdict, when it hit live, I could not believe it. I could not believe it, because I pretty much felt that the case was, in a way, ironclad. I looked at the evidence, and it's the first case I've looked at, and I'm like, I'm not gonna wait to the verdict. I'm just gonna say he's gonna win. I'm gonna. There's no way on earth a jury can convict this man, and lo and behold, uh, uh, the hand of God came down and bang, okay, convicted. I'm like, okay, I'm confused. So I thought I bring you down and ask you the most important question out of all of this, Nali. Um, how often do cases like this go to trial with the evidence stacked up? Like, in your experience, because I think you've been practicing for 10 years now, if I'm
Yeah.
if I'm mistaken.
13 now.
13.
Yeah.
My mistake.
No.
How often do these cases, a case like this, a misdemeanor case like this, head to trial with the evidence that was, that came out for it?
Quite frequently,
Oh,
actually. Yeah, it's not uncommon at all. Prosecutors will take their chance and see if they can prove the case, especially if they believe that a crime actually was committed. That's what prosecutorial discretion is all about. It's them saying, I have the right to bring this case forward and I'm going to do it. And I find more times than not, when I'm in a trial, by the time I'm in trial, I'm like, how did this get here? Like, what's going on? Or this is way overcharged or something like that. But it's quite common that a lot of people are facing jury trials where it could have been resolved some other way, or it
right.
doesn't seem like it's the strongest case. And then there's always a possibility that the person gets convicted, because juries are unpredictable things.
Yeah. Uh, and for you, Danny, because you were there on the final day of when this whole verdict went down. What was going through, what was the jury's reaction like? What was their demeanor? Did
Well,
they?
and this is totally just from an objective standpoint. Well, it might not be too objective. I'm a New Yorker. And I remember growing up, my mom, what'd you say?
I said same. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
Oh yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah. For clarification, not lawyer chick practices in the state of New York, so I forgot.
No.
Oh, you don't?
No.
DC, right?
I practice in Maryland, outside of DC. I'm just from New
Mhm.
York. That's just where I grew up.
Um,
Sorry, but go ahead. I didn't hear
Oh,
you. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
my
My
bad,
so
my
then
bad.
she
bad. No, no,
knows.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
Thanks for the correction. Thanks for the
Mm-hmm.
correction.
Mm-hmm.
We
Um,
we dead fake news here. We destroy it. We kill.
Yeah,
There's
no.
no fake
I
news
want
over here.
nobody to think I'm trying to say I practice where I don't. I do not practice in New York. But yeah, go ahead, Danny. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. My mom has always been the type. She votes. She does her jury duty, and so I got that from her. And I've been dying to do jury duty. When I tell you, I've lived in 3 different states and have never been called up until maybe 5 years ago, and then I didn't get picked. And it was a feral cat neighbor dispute type situation. I vividly remember growing up and hearing people, even when I was in my 20s working, hearing people flex that they avoided jury duty. Like, it was like the thing to do. Like, oh, they called me for jury duty. I'm not going. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I would sit there like, why? And in my immature mind, I'm like, don't you want a day off of work? Like, I'd be happy to go. Like, I saw it from a 20-year-old's eyes. Like, they call me, I'm going. I don't feel like coming to work. But it was not. They just did not feel a duty to ensure that stuff like this didn't happen. And I said from day one that jury worried me. That jury, when I first saw it, as soon as I saw the makeup, I tweeted it. I corrected myself on one of the jurors that I thought was white. I mean, I'm sure she lives like a white woman, but if you look at her, you're not seeing, oh, she's white. You would think, oh, maybe she's Hispanic or some other, ethnicity.
White coded, just say white coded.
Yeah, chocolate coated white. I don't know. But once I saw that jury, it just reminded me of that this is clearly a situation where nobody wanted to come. The ones that did want to come were too smart, like the guy that had the master's degree that they thought couldn't understand jury instructions, right. The black guy. And then the only black person they had on the jury, she fell asleep almost every afternoon. And I noticed that when the second note that they passed asking if they could see the raw footage of him trying to get her back in the car and then her eventually chasing him. And then they asked to hear a very small part of Chloe, the girl she went to the club with, her testimony. And it was a very small part that's completely out of context and completely contradicts what she ended up saying later on in her testimony. The part where she said that Grace mentioned that her hand hurt, but she did not remember seeing anything. She did not remember what hand it was. She didn't even remember seeing her ice it. She just remembers giving her ice. When the stenographer read that part, the foreperson who I had worries about, and juror number 3, which is the guy that is a Hispanic looking, but I think he's more Italian, which is an issue in itself from a New Yorker's perspective, racially, because we had a lot of issues with that in the 90s with racial bias and attacks from Italians against blacks. And he's in that age range. He's definitely older than me. Definitely in that age range to still have those biases. He kept going like this. And then I saw the black juror put her head down, almost like she was the one that was trying to hold out on that, because that was the 4th charge that they were questioning. The judge reread the 4th charge to them in entirety, and then showed them the video, had the stenographer read that blurb, and then he's going. So I said, okay. So I already knew that 4th charge was going to be a guilty just by the body language. So I'm saying all that to say that jury was less than ideal. I don't know what happened. I wish I would have gone to jury selection so I could have a better perspective as to why the defense let so many people on that jury that should not have been there. The entire top row, with the exception of one person, was in their late 20s. To me, I don't know how old you are, but
not in my late 20s.
20-something is not what it was when I was a kid. When you were 20-something, you were grown, probably married, had kids, had your degrees, had your career going. 20-something in this generation is like 18 2.0. One of them sat there and laughed the entire time. Every time somebody said objection, he's giggling. And I'm like, what are you giggling? Like, what's funny? Yeah, just a lot of the other one looks kind of zoned out. The one juror number 4, clearly not 30 yet, but he had a comb over and acne. He was enamored by Grace and the female ADA.
I remember you saying.
Google eyes over them, and I'm just like, are y'all not seeing what I'm seeing? Like, this is this is not going to go. And that's why I said when you guys asked. Dr. Heinz, when you asked us what we thought, I said emotionally not guilty, intellectually a hung jury. I was hoping it was going to be a hung jury, and the fact that they kept bringing back questions, I was like, somebody in there is not going with the flow. And it felt like for a minute it was going to get close to that. Clearly the jury was split though. And somebody gave in, and I think it was the black lady, because another YouTuber and I need to find it, said that he saw where somebody tried to interview her and ask her about her verdict, and she and I brought my two daughters with me the verdict day. And my oldest one had been with me all last week. And they saw things different than I did, because the minute I heard guilty, I just kind of like shut down the first guilty. And they said that they saw when they did the jury poll, the black lady and the guy with the comb over had to repeat, like almost like they didn't agree, but they kind of gave in. Had to repeat. You know how to say, "Is that your verdict? Is that your verdict? Is that your verdict?" They had to ask them twice.
Right. Thank you for that insight. I just want to shout out to Dre, the Dre Max Show. Thank you so much for your $4.99 super chat, the first super chat of the channel. Thank you. I appreciate you for that. Pressure's on me now to really put on a great show for you guys. But great, thank you so much. Peace and blessings to the chat and panel. Peace and blessings to you too. I wanna ask you, Nali, because sorry, I'm gonna say Danny, because you did say earlier into the I think it was on our second day, we were recapping on days 4 and 5. You were like, I think he could most likely be guilty because of those texts that came in. And I was wondering, because of the texts, like
if that was the only evidence we had, and
So you said it's likely that would be the case in a vacuum, because I want to go back to that, because the word has come in and Priya is going to appeal, and a lot of people, I've seen articles speculate that the appeal could involve the involvement of those texts, and so I want to revisit that and try and pick your brain on the arguments around those texts being brought in, because the articles are essentially saying that it could have been seen as prejudicial to have brought those texts in. So I want to know, before going to Nat, I want to know ideally how those texts got to what was the argument to even allow the texts to come in.
Okay, so that was the day that Jimmy came, and I wasn't there. I had to be in Tallahassee. That was that Thursday.
Oh, no.
Apparently started, and the judge said it. He was like, there's certain evidence that if he seals it, the only way it gets unsealed is if you open the gateway by some line of questioning that, right. And apparently she asked something. I don't know what it was. She said or asked something that opened up Hell's Gates, and then the prosecutor swooped in and it was like, okay, well, since she said that, you need to bring out, and of course he agreed. Those texts were the least of their worries, because Grace's first 2 days of testimony is what was prejudicial. All of that testimony, the judge clearly stated, was not evidence. It was just for background information, and somehow expected a jury of lay people that clearly did not want to be there / haven't even lived long enough to even have any type of toxic relationship, and probably don't even have any relationships. Now I'm telling you, I don't know how he thought that they were going to be able to separate that from the actual evidence. You know what I mean? And I'm wholly confident that that's why they did the 2 guilties. All of that stuff that was in those text messages with the insinuation that something happened to her head, right? She had said all of that, but she said it in the context as if he always threatened suicide. He always said this, that, and the third, when it was only that one time during that one text exchange. So all it did for me, and for anybody that can think and analyze and that has critical thinking skills, all it did for me was put everything in context now, because I'm like, oh, so it wasn't every time you had an argument. It was just this one. Oh, so that's even better because you made it sound like he was doing this over the course of the entire relationship when it was just that one text message.
What did she say to spark that thought? Sorry to interrupt you. What did she say to spark that?
Because so like I said, she testified for two days and then about 10 minutes on the third day. The first full day was all direct. And she just went through a chronology, like starting from the day they met in August, I think, 2021, and like almost probably maybe 6 months into it. And then it was like every couple of months, all the way leading up to March 25th, 2023. It skipped from January 2023 to March. And then that's when, everything, we got the videos and all of that. But the chronology started from when they met on Ant-Man and he gave her his number and da-da-da-da-da. Then it just kind of went every few months, and the judge kept saying every time she finished testifying or every time we went on a break or whatever, had some type of interruption, he would reiterate, this is not evidence. This is not to be used to determine predisposition or propensity for the crime that he's being charged for. This is just for background information. He would go through that whole spiel every single time she would stop talking or we had some kind of break in the testimony. Right. This is only to be used on information, and if you find any of it having any merit, you may consider it. But I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. If it's not evidence, why are we considering it? And I defer to you, Natalie, because I'm not a lawyer. I've said that time and again. I'm a paralegal. So I'm trying to understand why, if it's not, and I don't know. I don't know. I haven't lived in New York in a long time. I have not done any legal work in New York from a criminal standpoint. But I'm trying to figure out, if it's not evidence, but it's highly prejudicial, how is it allowed? How is that even? Why did the defense even allow it? Like, I don't. Is that something that's appealable? Because that was a day and a half of prejudicial testimony.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And had the trial ended there, he would have got all 4 on him.
Well, if before I answer your question, when she testified about the background of their relationship, aside from the text messages, did she say anything else about any other type of abuse?
She never said that he physically abused her. She did say they put into evidence. I don't know if you guys seen the picture, but that lady, Velma, posted it and claimed that it happened.
Megan Kuniff is Velma, everyone. Continue.
Yeah. Velma posted it saying that it happened at March 25th, and it didn't. It was a picture of broken candles and some other broken things on the floor that Grace took pictures of. That happened in California. So she brought up a situation that happened in California where he broke some stuff, allegedly. Because again,
she brought that up on direct examination.
Yes, all this is on direct. Okay. He broke some stuff in California. She took that picture. She brought up, like I said, but she said it in the context as if it was happening over the course of months. And then once we saw the text, we were like, oh, this was one day, or one day spilling into the next day. She brought up the situation when she came home drunk with her friends. She said she was tipsy and he got upset and threw all her stuff out the next day, basically saying, get out, get your stuff and go. Mm-hmm. She brought up on the night of March 25th, the night that they went out, she brought up where she had, and she's flashed 10-year-old boy body. So I don't even know what, but she said that and you can see the elevator surveillance where he's asking her to kind of gestures, and then she zips up her jacket, the jacket that she had on. She said it was in the context of him basically telling her that she was exposed, but she had I don't know if you've seen her, but she has a true dancer's body. She has no boobs, no butt, no hips, no nothing. So I don't know. She said that was the context. The elevator surveillance only shows him kind of gesturing at her jacket and her pulling it up. In New York, DC, March is really cold. So I don't know what the context is, but she said it was kind of indicative of him controlling her.
Okay, now, so they established. they establish like a pattern of control in the relationship. Is that
Right.
kind of ultimately what you think that they were getting at in
That's
the
what they were
direct
getting at.
examination?
Because
Okay, thank
even in
you.
the opening arguments, they said that, he was a lot of emotional abuse and withholding affection and control.
That's
Those
what
are
I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Like, what was the purpose of okay, that was the purpose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here is what I think. First of all that stuff on direct that came before the cross-examination, I don't know why any of that would be relevant unless he was charged with harassment or stalking or something like that. Um, because the question is, did this abuse happen on this day? And just because someone might have say, let's just take it as true, he has a propensity to be controlling, doesn't mean that he necessarily committed the abuse on the day that he's charged. So I'm going to assume that they already litigated that before court, because that's pretty fundamental that any
Right.
prior bad acts, Rule 404B, prior bad acts,
Federal rules of evidence.
that would have to be determined at a hearing to see whether or not its probative value outweighs the prejudicial effect. And with some of the reporting that I saw, it's clear that they did have that hearing, and that as a result of the hearing, the text messages were initially kept out. It must be, although I could be wrong, I'm just surmising based on listening to you, but it must be that the judge determined that those background things came in not to prove that he committed the crime, but to provide the context for the relationship and the type of relationship that they had. That's appealable. So that's definitely something that they can deal with on appeal, whether or not the judge should have allowed it in, because really, what does the context of the relationship matter unless the defense somehow makes it relevant?
Right. Right.
Okay, so then let's go to the text messages, because those were kept out in that hearing. And there's like a New York statute about the pattern of where prior crimes can go along with the crime that the person is charged now, that they're all like inextricably linked. And so you get to find out about the prior crimes. And they had a hearing on that. And the judge found that no, those text messages don't get to get used for that purpose. But if the defense opens the door, then it can come in. So let's talk about the defense opening the door. The way that the defense attorney, I've had a problem with this defense attorney from the very beginning of the case. From the minute that they were charged, I told you about this, Dr. Heinz. I had a problem with her from the minute it was charged, and she started this ground offensive with the media, releasing like, oh, Jabari's going to be charged and she's the one who abused him. First of all, why are you signaling your defense to the prosecution so that they can get ready to defend themselves against it? And then secondly, why are you trashing the alleged victim? If your client is convicted, they're going to hold that against your client. Those people in the media, they're not going to be sitting in the jury box with the 12 people. So you trying to convince the media when you really need to save it for your trial strategy. I've always had a problem with that from the beginning of the case. So anyway, instead of focusing on her trial strategy, she opens the door to these text messages coming in. The way that she opened the door to the text messages coming in was that she was like, basically, you have never previously reported him for abuse, right? You've never previously reported him for abuse or said that he abused you in any way, which is true. And so they're trying to say, oh, because you never previously reported him for abuse, you must be lying now. Or because you did not initially call this in, you must be lying now, because that's kind of like how it went. There was a little bit delayed in reporting. So you must be lying because you didn't report right away, right? So then the text messages became highly relevant because it showed him putting pressure on her, whether you believe that he abused her or not at that time, because that's not clear. He never said, I think astutely, he never came out and said, I punched you or I pushed you down or I injured you. But she says, I'm in a lot of pain. I really need to go to the hospital. And he's telling her, don't go to the hospital because it could ruin my career. And if you go to the hospital, the police are going to get involved. My career will be ruined. I might as well just kill myself. I'm such a terrible person. And then her telling him that he's not a terrible person. Even though the jury is instructed, do not use that as evidence of guilt. There is no unringing that bell. Right. Every single juror is going to say, it doesn't matter what the evidence shows about this day. I believe he must have abused her at some point in time. Why is he saying he's going to kill himself if she goes to the hospital? Right. So that all it poisoned the well with the jury. So it didn't matter what other evidence. It was just I made a video about it and some people got upset with me, and I wasn't saying that I even thought he was guilty this time or that he did anything to her this time. I'll tell you what I really do think. I do think he abused her on that previous occasion when he said, don't go to the police, but don't go to the hospital and I'll kill myself if you go to the hospital. That's wild. That's a super wild thing to say. And she wasn't saying, I'm going to end your career, I'm going to ruin you. And he's like, please don't do it. He's the one that's bringing up his career, and she's saying she wants to protect him. I don't think he actually abused her on the incident that he's charged for. And I think that the jury punished him because they also think that he abused her previously. It's why they did the reckless. It's what's called a compromise verdict. That's why they had all those questions. They might have been like deadlocked. They might have been going back and forth. Some people were stuck at not guilty. Some people were stuck at guilty. They wanted to go home. And so they said, let's pick some of the lesser charges and just send him on, because we're not going to just let him go because he clearly did it before, even if they can't prove he did it this time. I think that's what happened. And I think it was his attorney's fault. I think it was, I really hate to come down hard on another practitioner. Myself as a defense attorney, I just went through something similar in a trial where it's like clear that the jury, let me just be careful what I said. But
they weren't all there.
Yeah. Everything that you described, I have experienced that just in general, where it's like jurors will be asleep. Jurors will be looking hostile at you or very in agreement with the prosecution. They're clearly already making up their minds before they even get a decision. They don't listen to the instructions of the judge. They're being inappropriate from the jury box. All those types of things,
laughing,
right?
Talking to each other.
Yeah, all that stuff. And it's like, it's okay if they're jovial. That's okay. Like, you don't want an angry jury going back there, because that might be a really
but you don't do that during testimony.
During testimony, being disruptive and stuff. All of those are indications to me that they may not have been taking the case very seriously, but they probably stopped taking it seriously as soon as they saw those text messages. That might have been the end of the case.
I will say, because I actually agree with you in regards to the way that the defense actually handled the case, especially around this issue, because when Danny reported back, she said that they didn't even have a recross, because I'm thinking exactly because this came out in redirect. So I'm thinking, okay, get it back in recross and put to the jury that she said he never physically abused me before.
Now I can't confirm or deny that, because like I said, that was the day Jimmy was there, and Jimmy.
No. This was
next day.
No. Kat was here because Kat got.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, Kat got the info from Jimmy, so she actually did provide this part, and what was basically established was they just left the redirect just like that. They didn't do a recross. So when that text came in, the context in regards to that text was not established, because the context was she came in drunk, she came in drunk with her friends, and he didn't know who he was. That's where the Curtis Scott King, all those things came from.
All that stuff was that night spilling into the next morning.
Right.
And then I don't know if you saw the text, but you see where they redacted a chunk of what she was saying before she said that she needed to go to the hospital.
I mean,
so some of us were joking. Maybe she bust her head on the headboard or something and wanted some perks. But we don't know, and that's why I'm like,
the jury's not going to do all of that. Right. All of that analysis that all of us are sitting here doing and say, oh, she could mean something else. You have to hand it to the jury in order for them to do. So she could have called, his attorney could have called witnesses to the effect of what happened that night, that, in order to combat, but she should have never opened the door in the first place for the jury to have heard the information. And it was a very easy thing to avoid, because all she had to do was cross-examine her on what happened that night that all this stuff happened. What happened next? She's chasing him. And so did that come out in the actual trial, her chasing him down the street?
Oh, yeah. They played that video at least 15 times.
That's what you cross-examine on. Oh, if he's abusing you, what are you doing chasing after him? Do not open the door to anything that happened in the past and downplay it and say they're trying to make everything about the past, and it's all about what happened on that day. He didn't do anything to her, because if he had, why would she be chasing him? She was the aggressor. That's why she was chasing him. I just feel like it was such I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it was such a stupid error. It was really, really, they really hurt their client. Like, and everyone, people that are disposed to okay, you're not sitting there in the jury box and you're not thinking, oh, I don't want to let a bad man free or anything like that. You're looking at the case dispassionately, but give a jury a reason to find that somebody's an abuser. They're going to convict them. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know what happened, but as soon as they heard those text messages, as soon as they heard those text messages, it was done, data. It was over. That's the end of, and I said that, like, you know, he could have still been found not guilty. He still had a chance, but it was just a huge, like one of the biggest errors in he paid that woman so much money, and she opened the door to text messages where the same alleged victim is saying, I need to go to the hospital. I'm in pain. And he's like, don't go to the hospital. I'm going to kill myself. That's just horrible. Yeah, it was a horrible mistake.
It's but like you said, it's just really, and I think maybe one of their saving graces is they did it on. So the thing happened there. They did the text messages Thursday. I wasn't there. I came back Friday. Monday was the day that the defense killed it. The whole day, every prosecution witness flipped on the prosecution. To me, those were major mitigating factors. Like just the fact that nobody's testimony was compatible with hers that whole week prior should have been enough, but to kind of curtail even her friends, the girl from London, she had nothing but rave reviews, and she says she sees Grace every day because they do a lot of work together. Almost every job she's on, Grace is on, and then they also have a separate friendship. She had nothing but good things to say about Jonathan. She said she never noticed any abuse. She said that Grace's behavior didn't change. The only thing that changed was that she said she noticed that she worked a little less. But I'm like, at that point, in context, Grace had already said that they got this really big, fancy house in London, and she was so excited. She had never lived in a house that nice before. And I wouldn't be working either if I thought, you know, my man was about to marry me and got me living up in his house. I'm like, girl, I'll see you when I see you. Call me when it's I won't be doing these little jobs. Call me if it's like a movie or something. You know what I mean? But that's all she said. It was like a lot of unremarkable changes, but nothing that would signal, he's beating her up. He's doing something to her. You know what I mean? It's typical. Oh, I got me a rich man now. I don't need to be hustling hard with you like we used to.
Okay, so I want to go back to the closing because this is going down to the defense, to the way that keeping in with the performance of the defense. I want to go back to the closing arguments that they made because again, you were there on the day. What caught your mind back? What stuck out to you the most in regards to their closing arguments, because I want to see how memorable they made those closing arguments. So for you, what stuck out to you?
Prosecution didn't try at all. So to me, I feel like
just the defense.
Oh, just the defense. Yeah. Well, the defense was, they did what they were supposed to do. Everything that I'm saying, they made a point to say, that the testimonies weren't matching up. She did a lot of, poetics with the, Grace is a liar. Objection. She told a lot of white lies, big lies, and pretty little lies. Like she kept throwing that in every few sentences, kind of like in a poetic kind of flow. She did her job in terms of the defense closing argument. It was very compelling. She even said, the part about, I'm paraphrasing, but I wish I had the exact words in front of me, but she basically said, the reason why Black men in America don't call the police is why we're here today. And he started crying. Some people would say that was theatrics. I don't think so, because I've seen other interviews that he's done. Tamron Hall, he did something for Sports Illustrated. He did another interview with the cast of Devotion. He's a crier. He cried twice on Tamron Hall, and he was on the whole episode. 2 different segments he cried on. She gave him a book. He started crying. She surprised him with his teacher from the North Carolina school he went to. He started crying. He's a crier. So I can't even say that was him acting, because it almost made me cry, because I'm like, yeah, this is literally why we're here. He called the cops thinking he was doing the right thing, and now he ends up on trial, right? So that kind of hit you, because it's like he exercised a lot of restraint that entire time. You know, he didn't show any emotion. I did notice where he kind of sunk down during her first day of testimony. He kind of sunk down in his seat and kept his head down. And I was kind of thinking like somebody nudge him and make him sit up, you know, because it kind of looked, you know, are you guilty? Why are you slouching down like that? But the rest of the time he sat up straight, you know, he looked at the witnesses when they testified. He was on cue. But I could tell that I know if it was me and I'm thinking about watching my life flash before my eyes, I'd probably be crying every day. So I feel like at that point when she said that part, kind of like was like a release. Like he was able to just finally like, you know, let it go. But she did her job. Like I have no, to Natalie's point, you know, there were some, I agree with a lot of what Natalie said, but I wasn't there the day that the text came out. So I really don't know what she said to bring that about, but that definitely was a faux pas. She did, the closing kind of brought it all home. Prosecution didn't even have to try. All they said was, you see, our witnesses turned on us. You know, that's just proof that, you know, we didn't coach our witnesses. And I'm like, what? No, it's proof that you're full of it. And these witnesses were not going to sit there and perjure themselves because you forced them to come in.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they spun it like, oh, well, you see, a lot of our witnesses didn't even testify on our behalf. So, you know, that just means that we didn't coach any of our witnesses and we let them just, no, because you met with every last one of them the day before.
None of that surprises me. That doesn't surprise me at all.
So I got to ask you, based on what you heard, I got to ask you, Nat, based on what you just heard in regards to what Danny just said, how, if this was your case and you were defending Majors, how would you have handled the closing? Would you have gone for the way that Priya handled the closing, or how would you have handled it?
I think I would have more relied on stressing that there is doubt as to whether or not that happened, instead of outright calling Jabari a liar. Because if the prosecution succeeded in making them believe that Jabari acts a certain way because Majors makes her act that way, or he puts pressure on her, whether that's true or not, if they have convinced them in any way and you have the feeling that they've turned against you, then you really need to say, look, you don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. But there is doubt here, and here's why there's doubt. You know, the changing stories, the fact that she was chasing him, and all those other things that you guys mentioned are all reasons to doubt whether or not this actually happened. And so I think that maybe that having a softer touch with Jabari instead of calling her a liar. And then also, you have to be careful with the whole "this is why Black men don't call the police" type of thing, because what Danny said about demographics in New York between Black people and people of other ethnicities is very, very true. You know, and those are not things that you can necessarily pick up in jury selection, because you're limited in the questions that you can ask them. And so, you know, people will kind of hide their biases until they're on the jury. Some people I really applaud you, Danny, for what you said at the beginning about especially Black people wanting to get off the jury. We need you guys on the jury, because the people that take pleasure in serving jury duty sometimes have biases that they will not disclose in the voir dire process, and they end up on the jury anyway. I really, honestly, if the text messages didn't come in, I would not have understood this verdict at all. It's only because of the text messages that I'm like, I understand how they got there, and I think I know exactly what happened. I think they were prejudiced by the text messages, and they use them in a way that they were not allowed to use them. But without them, I don't think the state proved their case. I think there was reasonable doubt as to whether or not this thing actually happened. And so I think she might have had a flourishy, flashy, just that seems to be her style, closing, you know, where she calls on all these tropes. And I think she forgot the basics, which is there is doubt. And if you have doubt as to whether or not this happened, it's a not guilty. It's not a compromise on a lesser charge. It's completely not guilty. And that's where she should have probably focused her time. But the damage was done by the time they got to the closing. It could have been the best closing in the world. Once the jury hears that your client is telling the complaining witness not to go to the hospital after they've been injured, no matter what the context of the situation is, the context of the conversation, your case is done.
Right.
I mean, I think this is because on the verdict stream, the reason why I asked you that question is it's important because on the verdict stream, it came up, and I obviously, of course, I'm not a lawyer. Let me just disclaim that right now. I'm not a lawyer. I am no legal
he plays one on TV.
I'm not even a doctor. I'm not even a doctor.
I just play one on YouTube.
Let's put it out there, but my head immediately went to, if I was defending this client, the first thing I'd be doing is picking up those jury instructions and going through them bit by bit.
That's right.
And I asked Andrea, can I do that? And she broke it down and said, yeah. So the first thing I would have said was, listen, those texts that you saw, they happened in this context. And but of course, I do know a bit, and I know you have to say that during cross to bring it into evidence. You can't bring it in at the closing. Obviously. So this is why this is why I was really stunned when Andrea, let me know. I was like, no, you can 100% do that. Like, that's the point of it. And that's for me, that was the moment, because the texts for me did not damage the case. They just needed context. I mean, we can analyze it all day long, and we know the context from analyzing it because the timestamp was there. The audios came from that same, timestamp. We know that, but it's not our job to know that. It's the defense job to relay that to the jury. And I do agree with you in terms of how they fumbled it completely, because if they didn't bring those into evidence, how are you going to defend it in closing? Because I don't know if it was tone deaf, if they didn't see anything wrong with it and they just thought, oh, let me just, we can sidestep it, it's fine. But I do share with your sentiments. Like, when that came in, you can infer, yes, this happened before, irrespective of Grace saying, irrespective of Grace saying, he never physically abused me prior,
Right. They clearly didn't believe that. They didn't believe that. So even though that's what she said, they don't believe it because of the text messages. That's all.
Right. And the fact that Priya was hammering down the inconsistent statement is kind of confirms it, because now you're like, well, we don't know if she's lying now, but the text message, it cannot be lying. That was at the time. So it's really what I'm trying to like establish here is, and I'm gonna go to the super chat right now, because a lot of you have been saying super chats. Thank you so much, by the way.
I see them. They're coming in. I'm looking at them on my phone.
Yeah, they made a good the 999 one. So.
Thank you ever so much.
Point too, but I don't. We didn't have a jury of thinkers. Let's just put it that way.
Aisha, thank you so much for your $4.99 super chat, because this one is really where I would have hammered home, and I'm glad Aisha shares the same thought here. She says, can you please explain why Priya didn't position this situation as an individual protecting their property? Jabari tried to steal his phone, and that's very, to me, anyway, this more than I do, Nali. What is the law in terms of self-defense and defending your own property? Like, what is it like in New York? Do you know?
I believe there's a defense of property law, but I can tell you right now. Just give me 1 second. I know Maryland has one.
How about the minute somebody touches you and she touched him by grabbing his hand and his phone? That's enough.
This was the jury instructions, by the way. This was the jury instruction. To me, this is to me, both of this is defense. This is the other jury instruction for the assault, the third degree, well, the assaults, and this one is for the harassment, if that makes sense.
So a person is permitted to use physical force, but not deadly physical force that the person reasonably believes is necessary to stop a person from committing a crime involving damage to their property, such as criminal mischief, whether or not the person using the physical force is an owner of or is in control of the premises. So you can use that for premises and property, it looks like, and it falls under the self-defense law. And it's an absolute defense too. So he could have raised that.
But
Again,
I remember she got arrested for that. He scratched his face, his arm around here. She got she was charged and arrested, but remember, they refused to prosecute her on it.
The reason they refused to prosecute her is because it would have created a cross fifth. So they would have both had a Fifth Amendment right against testifying because they're both charged. And then they would have had to drop the case because neither one of them could have testified against the other because they're both charged. So they just picked the bigger fish. They picked Jonathan Majors.
And isn't that in itself a reason to appeal? Like, there's just so many.
I know. I wish it was, but it's not. That's also prosecutorial discretion. They can choose which cases they want to pick for whatever reason. And the reason that that's not a reason to appeal is because it's a separation of powers issue. So the place you appeal to is the court. So that's the judiciary. Right. And then the prosecutor is in the executive branch of government. And the prosecutor gets to decide what cases go forward to trial, what cases they're going to prosecute. And then the judiciary decides, like, calls the balls and strikes, but they can't force the prosecution to take on a certain case. Right. So if you say, I want to appeal because the victim assaulted me and they didn't charge them, even though I asked for them to, that's not a basis to appeal, because that would essentially be the judiciary forcing the executive branch to take an action that is solely within the powers of the executive branch to do. So that's a really good question, super good question, but unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Now, is there a way that he can civilly sue her then for that?
He can civilly sue her. He's not going to win because he's already been criminally convicted of assaulting her.
No, I mean after appeal. Like, let's say he appeals and wins.
Yeah, he could civilly sue her for wrongful prosecution. He could civilly sue her for assault. He could civilly sue her, but he would have to win on appeal for sure.
Right.
For sure. And he could say he wins on appeal. He would not win a case against the New York prosecuting office because
they have immunity.
They not well. You can sue them for wrong. You can sue your city or state for wrongful prosecution, but the standard is in their favor because it's there had to have been absolutely no probable cause to proceed with the case, and probable cause is such a low standard more than likely he could sue her. But again, even if he wins the appeal, I don't think he would win by suing her. He might be able to sue her for defamation or something, but again, he'd have to win an appeal because truth is an absolute defense to defamation. So yeah, he's in a tough situation. So I think his appeal would be successful on an ineffective assistance of counsel claim.
Absolutely.
Potentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She dropped it. I mean, go.
Yeah, she just went straight for it. She was like, forget all the other stuff. Let's just go straight.
Yeah.
Get the juror sleeping.
Going back to your earlier. Sorry.
Well, if the jurors were sleeping, I'm sorry, Heinz. But if the jurors were sleeping, if his attorney did not raise it with the court and say, Your Honor, the jurors are sleeping, I'd like to raise an objection, ask those jurors to be removed and to seat the alternates, then she has lost the claim for him on the jurors sleeping. It's not preserved for appeal. So again, that's another ineffective assistance of counsel issue. If they got into the history of the relationship and for some reason it wasn't litigated before court, right, to see whether or not that should come in, and she just allowed it to come in, that's ineffective assistance of counsel. She could say, hey, I cross-examined Jabari saying, aren't you a liar about calling this in, and open the door as trial strategy. Like, I meant for that to happen. And that would maybe say, okay, well, it's not an effective assistance of counsel, maybe ill-advised, but that was her trial strategy. Yeah. But that's very unlikely. That was such a huge I'm so serious about that being a huge mistake. It's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen someone do in a high-profile case.
Didn't the same thing happen with the Tory Lanez case as well, with his lawyer as well? Where he opened, I don't know, I can't remember what he did. Was it, I think it was in regards to the whole bribery thing or something like that, and I don't know,
Yeah.
something happened, and then evidence came in that was so insanely bad for him. And
Yeah, it was him.
remember.
It was him basically saying, like, don't testify to witnesses and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
don't remember what his lawyers did to bring that in. And then they eventually wanted to charge him with obstruction of justice, but the judge said that it was too late because they knew about it at the time that it happened. But basically the defense said something, and that opens the door to what was essentially obstruction of justice and him trying to bribe witnesses.
Right.
But, the difference between Tory Lanez and Jonathan Majors is that there was way more evidence on Tory Lanez that he actually committed the crime.
Witnesses, and he had a rap sheet longer than his body. So he had a lot of priors too. He's not, he's not. This is Jonathan's first ever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just crimes or not, because the jury's not supposed to know about that, right? So crimes or not, Major's case had a lot of doubt to it, in my opinion. I don't know what happened.
I don't know how he lost it. Oh no! I think we lost. Oh no! Internet.
Oh, no.
Lost who?
Oh, you're back. You're back. She froze up for a minute. She froze up.
No, I froze up.
Yeah.
Not on my end. Maybe on your end.
Oh, okay. I'm back though.
I didn't quite hear what you said that last few lines.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying that it was the text messages, because I don't know what happened in the car between Jabari and Majors. I don't know, right?
None of us, right?
But that's not guilty. That's not guilty, and the only reason I can think of for them convicting him is the text messages.
Or just straight racism, because I don't know. Did I tell you the jury makeup? I don't know if I told you.
Yeah, you said. Mm-hmm.
No, did you know all 8 though? Did I give you all 8?
No.
Okay, so
wait, 8 was it 12?
8. So 6 main, 2 alternates. Yeah. Right. I don't know. That's why I'm like, did something change?
Wait. Hold on.
Florida, and we only do 6. Huh?
Hold on. Is that an appeal?
It's supposed to be 12, I thought, but I don't know.
Okay, so while we're doing this, I just want to say we are 50 minutes into the stream, 55 minutes into the stream. You guys are clearly here because we are peaking at 239 viewers. Thank you ever so much for joining us on this fine evening.
She's like, hold up. I know we do that here in Florida, because like Casey Anthony, that was a murder trial and she had only 6 jurors. I thought it was a Florida thing. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe New York, because New York is doing a lot of things like the South now. Like the state is prosecuting DV cases, where New York before you can have the cops come and say, oh, I changed my mind, and they would leave. Mm-hmm. Now you can't do that, and the state will prosecute you. And that's how it is now in Florida and Georgia. So I thought maybe they're just taking on a lot of the Southern ways of doing things. Mm-hmm. But it was only 6 main, 2 alternate. 2 of the alternates were a biracial Asian man. He probably was Asian and white, and the whitish ethnic woman, older, middle age. Mm-hmm. Asian and white man was like in his 20s. The main 6, the 4th person was Hispanic, probably in her 30s. Mm-hmm. Juror number 2 was the black lady in her late 40s, mid 50s. Mm-hmm. Juror number 3 was the Hispanic looking guy that I'm strongly confident is Italian, but he's very dark, so maybe Sicilian. Probably around mid to late 40s, early 50s. Then you had the young guy in his late 20s with the acne and the comb over. Then you had a LGBT white female, and I say that because that's significant, because you know how that goes with the whole, the way they see men, period, let alone black men, right? So I'm just keeping it real. Then you got a full Asian man, the one that kept laughing, probably in his late 20s. And then next to him was the 2 alternates. So it was the 2 alternates next to the main Asian guy. That was the half Asian guy and the ethnic looking white lady. So in New York, as you know, being as heavily segregated as it is, not too often only people that live together are blacks and Hispanics. Everybody else is separated into their own little, neighborhoods and, worlds. So the fact that you're not exposed to, other people unless you go to work or go outside of your neighborhood creates a lot of bias, creates a lot of comfort with those biases, a lot of confirmation bias. Whenever somebody does something that you already have an opinion about, well, figures because they're Black, or like that Saturday Night Live skit where the news reporters are trying to guess if a Black person or a white person committed the crime.
I remember that. Yeah,
that's how it is. Like, I bet you it was a Black person.
Mm-hmm.
So. Just the idea that they only had that one Black middle-aged woman that kept falling asleep after lunch and sitting there in her bubble coat, I knew that it was not going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of anti-Black Asian racism too in New York.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole, they own a lot of the, the stores, the hair stores, the fruit stand stores, that kind of thing, with the following you because they think you're going to steal. A lot of that in New York. That's why I'm like, y'all say the South is racist. Try living in New York for a significant part of your life and not living in the nice parts of New York, and you'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not hidden. It's not, it's not something that, no, they might not call you the N-word or have, Confederate flags on their F-150s, but they will let you know that you are not welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 80s, it was real bad. Yusef Hawkins and, a couple of other crimes where, they were killed by, or their deaths were a result of being chased by, non-Black people. So
I just want to read out this super chat. Thank you so much, Winter, for your $4.99 $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. She says, what if it was a similar incident as March 25th, where she attacks him? He attempts to defend himself and pushes her away. She gets hurt.
She got hurt.
I think she's referring to the
headboard.
I think she's talking about how she may have got the back injuries, and maybe a lot of people don't know this, but when the officers were testifying, they said that Grace told them that
he struck her in the head,
and strangled her. So this is where, again, I go back to Priya. Why didn't you just keep highlighting this? She's not. This would have just at least put some doubt in there that though Jonathan was telling you, don't go to the police, don't do this and that, in this moment that you are alone and Jonathan is not there, Jonathan is clearly not a threat to you. Why wasn't this argued in the closing, for example, and say, listen, she volunteered this information. You heard from the officers. The officer said this. She volunteered this information to the officers. This is all those things that you heard earlier. Jonathan, this was I don't know. But I wanted to say this. I read that super chat in response to that super chat, sorry. What do you would that have changed anything if they were to have honed in on what happened at the car and how the injuries could not have happened at the car and caused doubt that way?
They did. They kept playing that video. They slowed it down. They zoomed in because she had claimed while she was still on the stand, this was that she hit the back when he picks her up and sits her in the seat the first time he puts her back in the car. She claims that she hit the back of her head on the doorway of the car. They replayed the video again, slowed it down, zoomed in, and you see that her head did not graze the back of the. And even the ER, the expert witness, Dr. Chang, he was hustling hard for the prosecution, but like I said, his story fell apart on Cross. He even said that when they did the head to toe, she did not complain of having any head injury. And because of that, they did not do any radiology exams on her head. She did not have any, surrounding injuries that would indicate she got hit in the head and it caused that ear laceration. She did not have any injuries on her hand except for that one finger. And he tried to make it sound like a squeezing injury would have caused that, but then it fell apart because it was like, well, wouldn't there be bruising around the rest of the fingers and the rest of the hand? And then the other board certified ER doctor testified that a twisting or a squeezing would not cause the oblique. It was called an oblique hairline linear fraction that she had just right here. And Dr. Chang couldn't even find the fracture on the x-ray. He just kept saying, well, the radiologist stuck an arrow right there. So that's where the fracture is. And I'm sitting there like this, like, where? Put my glasses on. I'm like, I can't see it. He couldn't even see it. And he was sitting right there. And the TV's probably like a 60-inch TV. And he was sitting right there and couldn't find it without the arrow.
So I have a question. I have a question. Is that okay? I'm sorry. No, Danny, I know you weren't there for the testimony and the text messages thing, because all of this, again, all that sounds like reasonable doubt to me. That all sounds like reasonable doubt. You know what I'm saying? Like, how could she get this injury if she doesn't have any surrounding bruising showing that her hand was squeezed? The video doesn't show her head being slammed back, even though what's captured in the car is caught on video. All of that sounds like doubt. So do you know whether or not with the text messages, and this goes back to the 499 super chat and their question, if in the text messages, if the defense gave any explanation as to what else they could be talking about other than abuse? Did they give an alternative explanation, or did they just let the text messages be read out in court by the alleged victim and have her cry while reading them and then leave it alone? You see what I'm saying? Because if they did that, that's what the problem is. So everyone's like, could the text messages have meant this? That's not really what he was talking about. That's not in evidence, which is what you were saying, Heinz. That's not in evidence if they don't bring in another witness to say that they witnessed what happened that day, or cross-examine her, or recall her. They could have called her as a witness and said, during those text messages, did this happen? Did that happen? Blah, blah, blah. Like, did he hit you? Is that what led to you texting that you need to go to the hospital before he said he was going to harm himself?
That's why I'm so surprised with the lack of recross.
It didn't happen when I was there. I feel like it didn't happen on Thursday either.
That means one of two things. Okay, it could mean, number one, that the attorney sucks, did a bad job, and that's ineffective assistance of counsel because they didn't try to rehabilitate on that issue. That's what's called rehabilitation. It's another form of rehabilitation. Or number two, that the evidence was actually, there was no alternative explanation other than abuse. And so she didn't want to elicit any testimony on it. And because she didn't want the bad thing to come out and to take the doubt away as to what actually happened there. It could only mean one of two things. She made a major mistake, or there was actually abuse. And I tend to think she made a major mistake.
She made a major mistake because
that's been the pattern of the case.
And I feel like once the defeat set in of those sealed texts coming out, I think they probably everything just kind of went out. And that happens. You know, it probably was performance anxiety. I don't know, because I know if something that I tried my damnedest to get sealed and succeeded at came out, I'm like, oh, like you're probably thinking of every strategy but what you said, Natalie. Like, oh, because now you're scared. Like you said, she's going to bring some context to what head injury she got. And what if she says, oh, he hit me up the back of the head?
Exactly. And that's what the jury's probably thinking too. Right. Like, okay, so why was that happening if he didn't hit her? That's what they're thinking. I'm sorry, Heinz, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'm sorry. Like, I really got to bring it back here because it's either she didn't listen to Grace's testimony or it didn't matter. But if you have said on the oath, he has never physically abused me in the relationship, this is your linchpin. This is the moment that you ask, what was that? You've got this. Exactly. That's perjury. You've got this now. So me personally,
with her
sorry, go on.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. But with her testifying, he's never assaulted me in the past. And then you have these text messages that sound like he assaulted. You have to ask her, but this was not because he assaulted. You have to ask her that. And the failure to do that leaves the jury with the lingering, because those text messages did so much work for the prosecution. One of the things they did was allowed them to impeach their own witness without impeaching her. By that, I mean, it's her basically being like, I'll lie for you. I'll cover up for you to protect your career. And they were asking her stuff about that, like, oh, like, why were you so concerned for his career? Oh, I didn't want to hurt him, and I still don't want to hurt him now. And so what does that make the jury think? Oh, so when she says he never abused her before, she's lying, but that's because she's under his influence.
Exactly.
So you have to rehabilitate. And it's either she didn't rehabilitate because the answer would be bad, or she didn't think to do it.
She didn't think.
I want to say she didn't think to do it,
which is ineffective.
So overwhelmed, and probably their mind was just racing because they were like, okay, if we do this, then this, and this, it was just kind of like, let's move past it. Because I think she took for granted, like I did, that they remembered the last 2 days of this girl saying that this man never put hands on her.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm sorry. Everyone is going to forget what you said on the stand when you have a text message in front of you. It's like that rule, you know, like you can tell me something to my face, but I kind of need a picture. Or I need something. Right. You can't just. I'm not going to take
the generation we're living in, and why so many young people probably should not have been on that jury. Because I'm also an educator, and I say this and I say it again because to me it's just a joke. I'm like, anytime you have the New York Times and other reputable publications warning you of how long an article is before you start reading it, you know that we're in a society where people don't want to think. They don't want to have to read and analyze anything. They just want it right in front of them. And if it's longer than a 1 minute read, you're going to lose them.
Right.
It translates into thinking and listening too. If it's longer than a certain amount of time, you're going to lose them. And they're not going to remember it. They need to see pictures and videos. This is how I'm in this predicament that I'm in now with all these YouTubers calling me because I'm like, is a tweet not enough? Why do I have to sit on these YouTubes for 2 hours at a time for people to understand what I'm trying to say? You know what I mean? Right. But that's where we've come as a society, that you have to literally put things in front of people's faces for them to get it. And it's frustrating because it's like, how many visual aids do we need for you to see that there's doubt at each charge had at least 5 to 10 areas of doubt, each charge. And somehow half of them he got convicted on, even with all that doubt. And yes, Winter, I think after Dr. Cheng confirmed that she was an alcoholic based on that test that he gave her, that confirms to me that she had other substance issues too. And I feel like her trying to go to that hospital was probably to get some kind of narcotic, because I'm like, you can go and take double the dose of Advil and be okay. Why do you need to go to the ER and get something that's prescribed?
Well,
right.
His attorney never got into it, so we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Winter, thank you ever so much for your $9.99 super chat. I really appreciate you. This is your second one. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. She basically says now wants to go to the hospital for stronger pills, and he's terrified how it would look, because how do you explain that without investigating, which is what he said.
Because you're going to have to convince these doctors that you need, Percocet or, hydro, whatever. I don't even know, because I don't take none of that stuff. But you're going to have to convince them. So now they got to do CAT scans. They got to do MRIs, because they're not going to just hand you opioids. You know what I mean? So, absolutely. And he also says in the text, I do not think that you're actually trying to protect us. So I'm like, okay, why can't we see what was redacted? Because I'm like, it's a lot of mixed messages in the text.
I mean, like, again, if this was relayed to the jury, it's quite obvious what he's referencing. Again, the text messages were dated 22nd of September. He was speaking about 2022. He was referencing over and over again in the audio recordings that she's not doing anything to protect their relationship.
He's insinuated that she's sabotaging their situation.
Right.
So to me, and again, I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt, because to me, when I see you're not actually trying to protect us, it sounds to me like you're going to do whatever it takes to get these drugs, and I don't know what you're going to say to get these drugs. No, Natalie.
No,
I'm saying with the redactions, because I don't know what the redactions.
No, the redactions. I'll tell you right now. So if it was she's on drugs and I'm trying to keep her people from finding out that she's on drugs, that goes to the credibility of the witness.
No, I
And
mean, I
that
don't know what she's going to say to get the drugs.
no. Okay, I'm this is what I'm trying to say. If the redactions were good for him, right, and made Jabari look worse, they would have come in. The redactions were kept out because they were even worse than the text messages.
You think so?
I'm positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So the
criminal.
reason so the reason I'm saying that is because when something comes in because the defense has opened the door, say on an issue of credibility, right? Which is what they opened the door to. And this would bolster the credibility of the witness and say, actually, you know, it's not because she's lying that she didn't call the police, but because he's asked her not to go to the authorities or go to the hospital before and threaten to kill himself if she goes. If the reason for it was something like, oh my God, you're overdosing on drugs, or oh my God, you're trying to get drugs and
I
people
would
know
have
you're
come in.
associated with me,
You will
that would
clean
go
up
to
so much.
that. Yeah, that would have come in because it would have shown, oh, I have tried to convince her not to go to the authorities, but look at this stuff that shows that she has drug problems. She's not likely to be telling the truth. You can't really listen to what she has to say.
Mm-hmm.
It probably was something along the lines of abuse or something like that. And that is more prior bad acts evidence. And so the judge is trying to insulate him and protect him from the prejudice as much as possible, even though his attorneys foolishly opened the door. There would be no reason to redact unless it's too prejudicial to the defendant more than it is probative. So I'm assuming, this is just me, you guys can draw whatever conclusions you want, but based on the rules of evidence, because the judge is trying to reduce the harm of the mistake that his attorneys made and protect his presumption of innocence, the judge is going to redact things that are even worse, but don't go to her credibility. So it could be like,
oh, you hit
What
me
about
you hit me, you
and
hit
I'm gonna give
me,
it 2 more days.
yeah, or something like that. And like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if he, he's not admitting to hitting her, if he's like, I'm going to kill myself, let's just do the I'm going to kill myself part. He doesn't want her to go to the hospital part, but let's not put in the reason for the reason for it. And I know a lot of the public is reading that redaction as, oh, that's something that's good for him. If it was something that was good for him, they would have used it.
what about a little bit of a curveball here? What about relevance or what about relevance?
Well, that's relevance is why it doesn't come in the first place. Why
No,
the state couldn't.
I mean, in terms of the redaction. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean, so the redactions would be relevant to us trying to find out what the heck they're talking about, right? But they're not relevant to whether or not this incident happened. So it does, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, the reason that the redactions, the unredacted portion became relevant is because it had to do with her credibility. It had to do with showing that actually she's a credible person. But anything outside of bolstering her credibility because it was called into question by the defense is going to be no longer relevant, and that's why it doesn't come in. And it probably more than that, it was probably way too prejudicial. That's the number one reason it doesn't come in.
At this point, you didn't let this girl testify for 2.5 days with a bunch of highly prejudicial non-evidence, aka background information, that led up to this text message. And like I said, it put it into context now, because now we see it was just one time and not over the course of months like you tried to make it sound like. So that's credibility. That's a credibility issue right there, because you made it sound like he was doing this every couple of weeks and it was just one time after you came home drunk and embarrassed him in front of his trainer.
Right. So that's a great point. I guess the way I should put it is this. The issue of whether or not something is prejudicial, it's not just prejudicial. It's if it's more prejudicial than it is probative. So it has to prove something, right? So the background information would prove, obviously, they had a relationship with one another. And also the prosecution's theory that the reason she didn't go to authorities right away was because of the history of coercive control in their relationship. That's just based on what you said so far. I'm just assuming that's a part of their prosecution.
That was right.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's their strategy. They've probably already litigated it, I would hope, because you would have to litigate that ahead of time before you even try to introduce it. And so the judge says, that is more probative that they've had this relationship than it is prejudicial. Because what you said were like, oh, controlling type of things, but not any like, oh, maybe he broke up some of her stuff, but not him punching her out or choking her or strangling her,
right,
whipping her. Yeah, nothing like that. So it's not more prejudicial than it is probative. It's probative of the prosecution's theory, but it doesn't say, oh, just because that happened means he just started abusing her out of nowhere. So that's why that would be allowed to come in. And the text messages initially were not supposed to come in because they don't prove whether or not this event happened until the defense makes it relevant by saying, oh, the reason you didn't call the police is because you're a liar, when they know that those text messages, they always knew. They should have been prepared that if they were going to open the door to it, they should have had a strategy to how to rehabilitate from it.
Right.
You know,
what about hearsay for the reductions? Does that play a part here?
So hearsay is an out of court statement being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Yeah.
And they weren't being the redactions, I think, were simply are you saying they could have redacted it because of hearsay? No, because the statements from Majors would not be hearsay because it's the statement of the defendant. His statements always come in. Mm-hmm. Right. And then her statements would probably not be redacted under hearsay since they're a prior statement of the witness, if they're in any way contradictory to what she's testifying to. But I'm positive they were redacted because it was bad for Majors. It was too prejudicial, just way too prejudicial. Because the whole conversation is technically an out of court statement, but it's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's being offered to show that there was a reason why she didn't call the police and that pressure was put on her.
Right. Thank you so much, A, for your $10 super chat. I really appreciate you. Thank you ever so much. A says if they try self-defense, then he would have to explain how he got his phone back. Risky because jury would have to believe that the force was worth getting their property back. So
and that's self-defense. That's why
you're allowed to. You're allowed to.
That's
what about proportions? What about proportion or appropriate force?
It just has to be non-deadly force. So you meet non-deadly force with so you can't start stabbing her or shooting her because
or breaking body parts.
Yeah. But like grabbing her hand would certainly be, that proportionality thing is like a state-by-state basis. But I was looking at the defense of others and self-defense instruction in New York just now, and it just says non-deadly force. It doesn't say that it has to be, you have to meet every blow exactly the same. Like somebody smacks you, and if you punch them, now it's no longer self-defense or defense of property. No, it's still self-defense. Yeah.
I'm glad I asked that now because I've never really known the distinctions, because I've always thought if someone punch you, okay, you can punch them back, but you can't like grab their head and then hit onto a cinder block.
You can question whether or not smashing someone's head on a cinder block is deadly force. It might be deadly force. It could be. And that might at least cause a prosecution to happen. You could win, but I would not.
I wouldn't.
We do not condone. Heinz does not condone violence, by the way. I just want to put it out there because people.
But the thing with self-defense is you never know how far it's going to go. So let's say Natalie snatches my phone, I grab her hand to get it back, then she elbows me in the chin. Now we throwing blows. You know what I mean? It can always escalate. So
that's the problem. That's the problem with self-defense cases. But that's why they have like the idea of the initial aggressor, which is, I feel so sorry for how this case panned out. I didn't watch it as closely as you guys, but from what I've researched, someone's dog is having like a ball. But from what I've researched, there was a clear self-defense argument here. If the other person starts it first, right? And as long as you don't start shooting and stabbing the other person and you're engaged in mutual combat with the person, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. That is not assault. It is not assault or reckless. You have the right to defend yourself. You just do. And
they really dropped the ball here.
I don't know if that's actually what happened, but it's a reasonable doubt as to whether or not that's what happened. And so that's why I think he should have been not guilty. But once they heard those text messages, I think it was a wrap. It was done. I gotta go, Heinz. I gotta go.
Okay. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. I still want to have you on, and you, Danny, if you have the chance, just so I can explain to my audience that, you know, all this stuff. So maybe we can try to link something up this
Oh
week.
yeah, definitely. I'm free. It's Christmas break now.
Yes.
So.
If you before you go, I gotta ask in regards to the appeal, because this one is very important.
Yeah.
What do you know much about the appeal? First and foremost, like what he may what chances he has to win the appeal?
Yeah, I don't, you know, you have to remember that statistically speaking, not many people win their appeals. Most cases are upheld on appeal because, you know, a lot of judges' decisions are in the discretion of the judge, and a lot of attorneys' strategic decisions are just strategic decisions that either it worked out or it didn't, but they actively make that strategic decision and they're allowed that discretion. So, you know, think about it like that. Temper your expectations. Think about all of the prosecutions against famous men that have happened in the media since at least the Me Too movement, and only Bill Cosby was overturned on appeal. That's a, you know, like that's a 1% basically percentage of cases. Yeah.
What chances does he actually have then to actually win an appeal?
I think his chances are not high if you think about him in the broad spectrum of all criminal defendants. Right, but I really and genuinely think he has an ineffective assistance of counsel claim for his attorney opening the door to those text messages coming in. And I think her only defense to that, or the prosecution's, because it's kind of perverse, because the prosecution will end up defending her on an ineffective assistance of counsel claim because they want to uphold the conviction. Every attorney that does criminal defense has had someone raise ineffective assistance of counsel against them. And it is the freakiest thing for the prosecutor who prosecuted the case against you, where you guys fought each other, to be like, no, I mean, she did a good job. And that's what they'll do, right? But isn't that wild?
I don't want to lose this case. So yeah, you did a good job.
You did a good job. She did great. I mean, I won. I beat her, but she did a great job. But I think that's the best possible.
Now we're going to show sportsmanship.
And also it's a perverse sportsmanship, and so they can keep their conviction. And also anything about the past of their relationship where the judge decided that came in, all that context stuff, that's all ripe for appeal. All of that is. And I don't know what other little technical things may have happened during the trial, like rulings on objections. There may have been something in there, but he does have a chance with that opening the door. His attorney should not have done that.
I do remember the audio in regards to the body cam. That wasn't they cut that out, so you couldn't hear what Grace was saying to the police. And
they cut and you couldn't hear them coaxing her into lying.
Yeah, you can't hear what the police. So which is what I'm thinking. If you are letting these texts in because she was being told by Jonathan, don't go to the police. Then surely you gotta learn the body cam that that conversation going on with the police on what she's saying. Like,
and it was, I think that would in I don't know about New York law, but I think in Maryland that might come in under it's like the being under the stress of the event, present sense impression.
Right.
It's an exception to hearsay where like
excited utterances, isn't it?
Well, there's excited utterance, and that's like yours. Yeah, that's excited utterance and present sense impression. It would come under those two, because it would be like, oh my gosh, I was just assaulted, and you're still under the stress of the event, and this is what I'm currently experiencing as a result of this thing that just happened to me. And so even that, although that's hearsay, it's an out-of-court statement being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. There's an exception that it's a excited utterance and a present sense impression. So in my state, at least, that's like how a lot of 911 calls come in over my objection, is that it would be like this, I'm promptly reporting this thing that just happened to me. And so it's more likely to be reliable, you know? And a lot of times the witness has to testify. Exactly. So you haven't had time to make up the story.
Right.
And then that witness is also available to testify. They're gonna testify in court, which Jabari did. So I don't know why that didn't come in. It might be a New York. No, I can't say one way or the other because I'm not a New York lawyer. And there could be some like exception for like what's said in a body cam doesn't come in. But
They said a
my
lot of
experience,
incriminating stuff
yeah.
that they admitted on cross and direct.
Well, see, and that's the thing.
We
That's the
couldn't
thing.
hear it.
If the police and Jabari are going to testify in accordance with what's on the camera, you don't really need to play it in court, because they're going to now, if they had denied it, then they could have impeached them with it and said, but didn't you say this on this date? Play it for them. Yeah, and then maybe the jury would get to hear it. Then if they denied that they said it before, then the jury would get to hear it. But because they're adopting the statement and saying, I did say that, yes, then the judge could make a ruling that it doesn't get played in court.
Because at one point they actually gave one of the officers a laptop with headphones.
That's
say,
right. That's the question of recollection. Wow.
Oh, so it does. So he lost his only chance of appeal then.
Yeah, they did it right then.
The defense gave it to him.
Yeah, they did it. So what that is, I understand why that happened now. It happened. Right. The witnesses are available to testify, and they all testified for the most part in accordance with what they said previously on camera. And so you don't need what was on camera unless they're going to say, I didn't say that. And so then do you not remember saying that, or did you not say that? They say they don't remember. Then you give them some headphones, or you remove the jury and you refresh their recollection. And then they can say, yes, I did say that. And if they said, yes, they did say that, that's it. That's the end of the inquiry. Yeah. If they said, no, I didn't say that, then the jury gets to hear the recording. And then you're like, well,
why couldn't Priya just ask the question? Grace, did you say that you said that you were worried about ruining Major's reputation, right? Yes, I did. Okay, so why would you tell the police? So what did you tell the police when they came? And then she's like, I didn't say this. I didn't say is because she did say, according to Priya, when she put out her statements to the press, she was saying that Priya, that Grace was saying that Grace was saying that, is this gonna be on TV and all this stuff? We just moved in. I'm gonna get married, or is this gonna be everywhere? So I would have asked her on that and try and get that in.
Okay, let me understand. So she said she didn't want to get him in trouble.
Yes.
But to the police, she testified, I didn't want to get him in trouble. That's why I didn't tell, right?
Yes.
But to the police, she was talking about how it was going to be on TV.
Yeah. Is it going to be on TV? Like, where is it going to go? Like, this and that. And
did she sound like she wanted it to be on TV?
Yeah,
or
according to Priya, when she said it, she was smiling. Her whole just like, she was, her face was lighting up because she was like, oh, this gonna get me the attention. And around that time, Jonathan was saying, keep this confidential, keep this confidential around that time. So that's why I was asking like that, like because it goes to your ineffective counsel thing.
Yeah, that just seems like it's either a strategic mistake or Priya saying one thing to the media, but thought that if she pushed on that, her answer could have been bad. Like I just wanted to know if it was going to get to the media because I wanted to save his reputation. She was afraid of what her answer was going to be. She might not have wanted to ask the question, because Priya is telling all of us one thing, but doing something completely different in court. I don't trust Priya. Priya, no offense, girl. No offense, but I don't trust Priya. All right. And on that note, I'm going to go.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right.
Have a good evening.
Guys. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna read this super chat. Thank you so much, Chocolate Goody, for your $4.99 super chat. Thank you ever so much. I hope that does answer your question and on why it was blocked.
Well, it was blocked too because they did say things. They said there were things that they said, like mentioning, insinuating about whose apartment it was. There was a point where one of them asked her if he caused the injury, and she goes, I guess so. There was another cop that said that if I punched you, I wouldn't break my finger. There was a lot of different things that was said that was, I guess, inappropriate for police to say. And so it would indicate some type of bias that they had against him as to why they ended up eventually arresting him. Then obviously you actually see where one of them is going like this. And then the sergeant testified that he told him to do that to get more out of her.
Right.
So, you know, it's a lot of, I feel like if on appeal they can bring that up, it could be helpful and actually play the audio. I don't know, man. I don't know, or get some kind of transcript of the audio, because that clearly indicates that they had some type of bias against him. Oh, this can't possibly be his apartment. Oh, did he do that to you? They didn't let her say he did it. They told her he did it. You know what I mean? Like kind of coaching her. Right. They coached her with this, and she ended up dropping that because she said he did not strangle her. Right. There was a lot of stuff that they did that was highly inappropriate, and that could signal that they were just looking for a reason to arrest him. You know, right. You even see him on the thing, indicating where she pulled his jacket. You know, why did y'all take that into consideration? That at minimum, it was mutual combat. So both of them need to go in.
Sorry, not Sec. Lamin, thank you so much for your 27 Sec super chat. I hope that, you know, your question was answered today, because he or she asked in regards to the appeal. I want to, there's so many super chats here that I do want to go through.
So Lamin, she did say that statistically it doesn't look good unless, you know, there's some really compelling evidence to show.
It has to be a legal defect. It's hard to argue new evidence or you know, argue something that the jury has already decided. A lot of lawyers do say that appeal is for losers, so you know, it's not looking if Nali is saying that his best chance is ineffective counsel, it's in my opinion, I'll just speak for myself. In my opinion, I think it's bad to have that be your strongest appeal, because you kind of have to have like some kind of email or something to the opponent, giving them your entire strategy. You know, what they're gonna do. It's gonna be on that level. That's what I think. Based on what a lot of lawyers, you know, speak about in regards to this. Like, but I do think some of the decisions, especially those texts, I do think, in my opinion, those are his best. You know, the ruling around that. But again, it goes back to ineffective counsel, like Nali said, because it just how she opened the door is just.
I personally don't think her counsel was ineffective. Natalie is a defense attorney. That's your worst nightmare as a defense attorney, to have your client turn on you, right? But that's the low-hanging fruit. That's the easiest out. So if they agree to it and maybe come to some type of mutually agreeable, okay, look, say that this is what it was, we still cool, but this is probably your only chance of getting this overturned, then fine. But from what I understand, they're actually friends, in addition to her being his counsel. So I don't think he would do that from a friend standpoint, and from the impact that it would have on her professional career standpoint. But again, that's probably the easiest out. So I agree with Natalie in that way, because that's your easiest out. Because the odds of you winning that over any other possible appeal tactic are probably slim to none.
Because I do see where
it would literally overturn the conviction. But it could also open the door, depending on, you know, what the local law is in your particular jurisdiction, to a retrial. So I personally don't think that it would be smart to try to retry this, because they will not ever find an unbiased jury. They would have to go up to Plattsburgh near Montreal to find a jury that has not heard of this case and has not seen any of these YouTube videos.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised.
No, they literally would have to go to the border of Montreal, damn near dipping a toe in Montreal to find a jury that just is clueless, because there's not too many of us up there, and the odds are probably slim that anybody gives a damn about what's happening in New York City Metro. I don't think he would do that. And while there were some faux pas, haven't been there 10 of the 11 days. I feel like they did what they could do, and like she said, without opening the door to something else more damning coming out. Because it's but so much pushing you can do before you end up having something else come out that you didn't want to have come out. So
Absolutely.
it's like a fine line. It's a fine line that you're walking. And I feel like they did the best that they could without potentially opening the door to more damning evidence or more, let's bring Grace back. Since you brought that up, let's bring her back and ask her about that. You know what I mean? Or let's call this trial will probably still be going on, because now we're flying more people in from London that can testify to, you just brought that up. Okay, let's go get the personal trainer from
I personally would have done that. Like, I personally would have done that. Throw the kitchen sink, because those texts that came in, it is bad. It is bad. Like,
if they had smarter, more vested people in the jury, I don't think it would have made a difference. Because all that other doubt, if you're following the jury instructions and the law, everything else that came out would have canceled those text messages right out. Because like I said, by the time those text messages got put into evidence, she had already established that those were conversations that they had.
I know.
The only new information that came out was the conversation about her head hurting.
Yeah,
and again, because of the redactions, there's no way to know why her head got injured, or if it, you know what I mean? She could have had a headache from a hangover. Like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just trying to fill in the gaps because we don't have that information. Her head could have been hurting from a hangover. She could have fallen and hit her head just the same way she was stumbling in Lucy's. She could have stumbled and bust her head on something in the house. Could have been rough sex. Could have been so many different reasons why she had a head injury. And the insinuation of one, because she never even outright said that she had a head injury. She just said that her head hurt and she was going to give it a couple more days before she went to the hospital for some opioids. Because that's really the only thing you're going to the hospital for. Because every other over-the-counter medication, you can just double the dose and get the same effect as a prescription.
Oh, very true. That's actually very true. That's very true.
Strength naproxen is double the dose. Prescription strength ibuprofen is double the dose. Right. You don't need to go to the hospital for that.
No, that's true. That's true.
And I only know that because I've had some elective surgeries that I did not want to take opioids for, because I took one and it made me really sick. And I didn't like that feeling, and I did not want to get sick. And so I asked my doctor, what's the alternative? He was like, well, instead of taking two ibuprofen, take 4. That's literally what he told me. I had to do a liver cleanse after that, because you get raccoon rings under your eyes taking that much. Taking that much, but I did what he said and it worked, and I avoided having to take the Percocet, the whatever else that they were trying to give me. So I don't know. It's drug seeking behavior to me. And
no, I was gonna say no. Chat. I have placed down a poll asking if Jonathan has a chance of winning his appeal. So make sure you do vote. I will, of course, see how you guys are feeling when we get to the end of the show. I just want to read this super chat here by Z. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. I really do appreciate you. Z says, with how eye-opening the evidence is, yet some people still wanting a pitch perfect or crystal clear evidence. Is that too high of a burden? I personally, like Nali said, I personally think that they met the reasonable doubt. It's just the lawyer did not do a good enough job on the day to deliver or argue the points that she needed to argue. It happens. It's like sports. It's like sports. You have to turn up on the day and play. Otherwise, you lose. If you don't play well, you're going to lose.
And then it's the Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean,
right.
Like I said, from what I saw, I feel like they did the best they could with what they had without opening the door to more stuff and prolonging the situation, confusing the jury even more. Because, like I said, that was, man, listen. I hope, like I said, they did express a concern about juror number 2.
Right.
So I'm hoping that was just putting it out there that, that's an appealable issue. Like I said, once they expressed that concern and she finally arrived, I noticed that her whole attitude changed. She stayed awake. She was more alert. She looked almost nervous, because I think, had she not changed her tune, they would have switched her out for one of the alternates. And at this point, they probably should have, because she clearly buckled under the pressure of them trying to get that 4th charge pinned on him. Because by the time they asked about that 4th charge and asked to replay the video, asked to get that transcript read, they had already made their decision about the first 3. So I honestly think that if she would have stood her ground, he would have only got 1 out of 4 and not 2.
I think they would have stuck to the harassment. If I'm being honest, I don't know.
That's the lowest harassment, and they wouldn't have gotten the 4th charge. Somebody had asked. I saw it in the super chat somewhere. Somebody had asked.
By the way, Winter, thank you so much for your $1.99 super chat. I understood what you were referring to when I read your super chat. I appreciate you for this super chat. Dre Mac. Thank you for your $4.99 super chat again. I appreciate you. He says, now I gotta make a video about prayer and the text. Hey, make sure you go and check out Dre Mac's channel. His handle is the at the Dre Mac Show, I believe it is. So it's literally just there. So make sure you go check out his channel. He was a guest here on Verdict Watch, an amazing guest, and yeah, like I love his videos. Very funny. He's a great man doing great things. doing great things. Corey Scott, Wilma, Velma Scott. You got. Thank you so much. Right?
I think Don L asked how severe the charges are.
Right.
They are literally tantamount to you being convicted of accidentally hurting someone because you tried to get your phone back. So they got him on the lowest 2 of the 4. So his crime was trying to get his phone back, and he accidentally hurt her in the process, even though all the evidence and expert witness testimony clearly indicates she was not hurt when she left that car. He still got charged and convicted with accidentally hurting a non-hurt person trying to get his phone back. So this is why I'm not even understanding why Marvel acted so swiftly, because at the end of the day, that's like me going to the grocery store. Some old lady snatches my shopping cart. I snatch it back. She falls on the floor and breaks her hip. I get convicted because I snatched my cart back. She fell, decided to press charges. So now I got a record now, and now I lost my whole job because this bitch took my cart and I tried to get it back.
Yeah, Donnell, Donnell, I don't think I don't think it's even severe, if I'm being honest with you. The charges he got convictions on, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if the judge during sentencing says time served. I actually wouldn't be.
Yeah, he
at
won't
all.
serve a day. He won't. The longest his time served was when he went in and got arrested. That was it.
Yeah.
This is not. Even if he would have got convicted of all 4, he would not do a day in jail. It's literally community service, anger management, a fine, maybe some type of, diversion program. I don't know. But he definitely would not. The average broke person in the Bronx would not serve time on that unless they have priors. Because obviously, if you're a career offender, they're going to, at this point, we're sick of you. You're going to do your 1 year. But this is his first and only ever
the guy was a military.
He's
The
a
guy's a
first-time
military.
offender.
No, I'm just saying the guy has a military background, for crying out loud. Like, I don't know how you can even get caught up in this, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, you know how, and you know what to do.
Well, you just gotta be black.
Don't you be bunny hopping out there in London, and you stay out the snow.
I'm bunny hopping. Oh gosh.
Yeah, no bunny hopping, because you look like a bunny hopper.
Whoa! Where did that come from?
I feel like you done the bunny hop a couple of times. It's giving reformed bunny hopper. I don't know, but I would suggest that you stay out the snow, buddy.
Look, listen,
I'll just say this. To a high yellow black chick, but stay out the snow.
I'll just say this. I don't kiss and tell. Everyone that I've dated have enjoyed themselves, and that's all you're going to hear. Adriano, thank you so much for your $5 super chat. I appreciate you. I read on Twitter. No, Adriano, she did not get my ass. I see that chat.
I'm just saying, it's giving snow bunny fever.
I mean, but I'd go red right now.
I'm just saying,
Gosh, no, it's not.
If you gotta move to Florida to stay out the snow, you gotta do.
I don't talk about my preferences. Don't talk about anything like that. You know what? I've been single for 5 years. That means
he's guilty, because all you had to do was say, nah, man, I like my black sisters. All you had to do was say, nah, man, I'm good. I stick with the motherland. That's all you had to say. I am on. You've been warned.
Look, I am on stream. I am not on trial. So I am. It's 2 different things here.
I'm just trying to help you out.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the help, but
MSKP, the judge decides the sentence. So the prosecution recommends a sentence, and the judge ultimately decides. Now, if it was like a murder case, the jury would be like, okay, well, we recommend death, but even at that, the judge can still say, okay, no, we're not going to do death. The judge can always,
let's not get crazy here.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw off your chat, but I'm just saying, y'all heard it here first, so.
Nikki the Great, Dr. Heinz emojis. Oh, chill, Nikki, chill. Gosh. Yes, anyway, Adriano, let me read out your super chat, because it's been on a stream for a while. He says, I read on Twitter that the body cam audio catches the cops talking to each other, wondering how you could afford the penthouse. Is that true or rumor? No, that's actually. Let me pause.
That's true. I said that. And now I don't know if they said anything about him affording the place, but I do vaguely recall that being. But they did say something on camera about it being his place and doubting that it was his place. I don't know if afford was the word used, but it was definitely in the context of not believing it was his apartment. Because again, like I said on another, I don't know if it was this show or another one, Chelsea is not known for having a lot of people of color with money living there. And the specific building that he lived in had a couple of other celebrities living there. So that's not a building where you're going to see just everyday working class Black people or Hispanic people or anyone of darker than a certain shade living in there, unless they're a celebrity or millionaire. So the fact that he was not, he's very down, he's very low key. If he's not on the red carpet or in court, he wears regular everyday people's clothing. So,
Right.
and that day was no exception. He had on regular clothing. He did not look like a celebrity. He was not dressed like he had been anywhere special. So, their instant assumption was that it was her place, I'm sure, and that he was just some, bum ass black dude that you brought into her life, and he was living off of her, when it was actually the opposite. So yes, that was something that was in the body cam audio, and that's part of why they muted it, among many other reasons, up to and including the coaching her to say that he did more to her than what he did, and asking her leading questions that made her say, "I guess so," in terms of how she sustained the injuries that she had. Yeah, a lot of stuff was said that would have completely and probably had gotten him off had the jury heard it. But the corrupt police are going to always prevail in cities like New York and Chicago, and
Guys, I just made another poll. Make sure you vote on the poll.
Option 5, snow bunny. For snow bunny adjacent women.
Okay,
snow bunny adjacent.
You know what? I'll try this out because I actually do want to know why. I actually do want to talk about this for the last, because we've only got like 5 minutes left. So I do want to end on this for some reason. Let's end on a bit more positive note, because I want to know why you thought like that. So let me do it. Let me add a Q&A.
Why do we think you like the snow bunnies or snow bunny adjacent women? Well, statistically speaking.
Oh, come on.
We're going to make this statistical. And because I'm from a city like New York, where it's a huge melting pot, London is the same way. London is literally, New York is London 2.0, right? Statistically speaking, Black men of certain nationalities, national origins, if they aren't traditional, and even Middle Eastern men, if they're not traditional, meaning you follow your, let's say, whatever country in Africa your family's from, you're very strict traditional, they tend to like the snow bunnies. They tend to dip their toes in the snow. Statistically, I've seen it.
I'm definitely traditional, I would say. Don't you think?
But you dipped your toes in the snow, don't I?
What does that even mean?
Look, there is no shame if you learn your lesson from this case and decide that you're no longer going to do that. You are fully capable. And
I'm gonna push back.
This is a
I'm gonna push back, and this doesn't mean anything. This doesn't.
You guys still don't know my preferences, you guys. But I will push back. Because I do wonder why this is such a hot button topic. I don't know why it's such a hot button topic. It doesn't.
You know why? This case is a classic example.
No, I mean, I don't know why, in the sense that I live here, so it's very. Can I say normal here? I don't know.
Oh, it's normal here in the United States too, but the difference is you're not criminalized for it over there, because y'all don't have the history of slavery and segregation and Jim Crow and lynching that we do here in the United States. So here in the United States, it's largely frowned upon because you're thinking about all those historical contexts, and you're like, how could you, knowing that this Emmett Till's accuser just died a few months ago? Like, what are you doing? But like in UK, y'all don't have that history. So it's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, we got some racism, but it's not to where people were getting murdered and enslaved and, you know what I mean, wrongly accused over it.
Right.
You know, so it's way different from a historical perspective. So I totally get that, and I can appreciate that. But and I dipped my toe in the snow, but I knew way early on that was not a long-term end game for me. Probably even a fetish. I'd even admit that because in looking back, I would have never married or had children with those people. So you know, it probably was a fetish. And I'm going to admit that. Full disclosure. Hey, we keeping it 100, right? And
No,
that
I'm
was
not laughing
a
at you.
long time
I'm not laughing at you. I put the poll up and not even 5 seconds went by and everyone selected white.
Yeah, I would say white. Because that can cover a large population. It could be Spanish white, it could be Italian white, it could be, you know, there are white people in India. My neighbor is one. She has red hair and freckles, and she's Indian, East Indian. You know, so we just gonna say white because it covers all the white looking. Right, Darnell. R.I.P. Emmett, because that lady just died less than 6 months ago. So it's fresh wounds here in the United States. That's why we don't necessarily appreciate that here in the United States. But nothing against you. It was just a question.
No, I don't.
As long as you don't come to the United States, you're probably safe. But I mean,
no, I mean, like it's not like it's something.
And I feel like Jonathan thought he might have been safe because he was in, you know, Great Britain, where it's not a huge deal over there. But
yeah, I mean,
came
like,
here and all hell broke loose. Should have kept over there.
I mean, it's just I've never really had this conversation.
Yeah,
That
Derek,
makes sense. I've never had this conversation. I've never seen many people kind of like have these opinions like this and say, oh, this is what you get for, like, I actually know I've seen it. I've actually seen it. I've definitely seen it. Wrong way to characterize that. Having conversation is not the same as seeing it. But the point I was trying to make is the first time I saw it in regards to, oh, you should stay away from these white women, they're very dangerous, was when I saw it when Courtney Clenny, not sure if you heard of her, the OnlyFans murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she killed her boyfriend Christian Obumseli, he's from Nigeria, but he's also American. But basically, when she killed him, people were saying, hey, she's, you know, this is why you don't date. So that's the first time I heard it, but I was like, I don't know. You guys are just finding whatever excuse to do it and that. Personally, you know, you date who you want. Me personally. But for some reason, I feel like after I said that, the vote for white is gonna go up. Like after I said that, I don't know.
Derek Dynasty, no, because I would define that as I'm not going to say it out loud because I think that might be a YouTube offensive term. But Derek Dynasty, no, because I did not do so with the goal of being kept and taken care of. I think that definition is more reserved for the ones that's their goal. They seek that out and they want to be taken care of and they see that as a status symbol. That was not my my intent in that. But yeah, no. He said I was a
look, Dre Mac, thank you. Dre Mac, thank you for your $9 super chat. But you know, I just want to disclaim for everyone that's watching. The super chats that I read out are my opinions are my own. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
My opinions are, you know. Just want to put it out there before reading this, because I read out super chats. Before reading this, I'm putting it out there. All right, cool. We got it. We got the message. Cool. Before I get clipped.
You gonna empty the clip on you. Talk about something.
Anyway, he says, J Mac, thank you so much for your $9.99 super chat. He says, I've never bunny hopped before, but if you do, just don't get cockeyed.
Cockeyed Velma, right? She ain't gonna be able to see you coming. Then you're gonna end up locked up for that.
Look, listen. I have the greatest respect. Look, I've always respected her for her coverage in the Megan Tory trial. You know, always will get my respect. Whatever disagreements that there is now in regards to what she's saying, I don't respect her anymore. I just want to separate out there, but not to this level. Not to this level.
Right.
Not to this level. Dre does not like her. I just want to say, Dre does not like her. just want to put it out there. I just want to put it out. Oh wow, great! Thank you so much, everyone, for your super chats. Thank you once again, Danny, for joining me today. I'm gonna close out the stream. But yeah, but before I close out, let me read the poll. 46 people voted. 54% say that I look like, based on my based on perceptions, I look like I date more white. Based on
and the fact that you just won't answer.
All right.
I answered. I tried to open the door to that.
All right.
That emoji with a wrench.
All right. 30% said black. 9% said Latina. Asian is 9%. I will give you my relationship history, and I'll be very honest. I've only dated, I think, 3 or 4 white women.
That's a lot in your young age. That's probably more than 50%. So my assumption was correct because you're much younger than me. What do you?
No, like? I've actually dated more black women. Yeah, I've actually just for a play out there.
Mentally challenged black women.
No, I mean I've dated one Asian woman and no Latinas. Never dated any Latina before. But I'm not telling you my preferences.
So we already know, y'all. It's all good. This is how you get your ratings up. Telling the truth, man. We already know.
Nah, I'm just very personal about relationships. I'm just very personal. So you guys got a lot today. I'm very personal about relationships. Very. I don't talk about it. It's no one's business but mine. I don't kiss and tell. Blah. Lamin, we'll close out on your super chat. Thank you once again for your 27 sec super chat. Grace denied any prior abuse. So on redacted text, like Nali said, I would take her word for it. If the redacted portions were redacted, it's most likely because it would be too prejudicial for Jonathan. So if you were to unredact it now, or if you was to share it, it may have been redacted because of that reason, that it was actually more worse than good, even if it was very innocuous. Like, the judge has to decide how the jury would perceive it. How, it's the effect of the message being read. So based on that, it could have been really bad, and they were just focusing on the bit where it was don't do this, and the reason why, and her response, all those things. So, but again, she did testify under oath, he never physically abused me, etc. So I do not believe that you would say that under oath he never physically abused me, but then you testify all the other things that you were saying he was doing. If you were still trying to protect him, I'm sorry. What you're basically telling me is you're an unreliable witness that doesn't know what she wants. Because if you were really
whatever's going to work,
right, because let's be logical here. If you're really trying to protect this guy, you would have just dropped the charge. You would have just said, nope, I'm not testifying, I'm not doing anything. I want this to go away. Bye. And
that's why the defense brought up her making a deal with the DA.
Right.
If she cooperated, they would not prosecute her. Because even though Natalie was correct in terms of, the basically crossing wires, they could have still tried her separately.
Right.
And they could have testified against each other separately, like in a whole separate trial.
Yes, that is a question that I should have asked her. I should have asked her.
A whole separate situation, and then you wouldn't have that conflict where you can't incriminate yourself, and that whole thing.
I mean, I wanted to ask you, in the case of now that this case has been adjudicated, can they just retry, but the prosecution goes after Grace on this case? Right, because it's done now. He's guilty of whatever happens, but now can you go after Grace?
Now it has to go civil, but after an appeal.
Yeah, like
Black media has been absolute trash,
oh yeah.
Adriana. Like
Thank you
absolute
by the way for the $5 super chat. Yes.
disgusting
Um
trash.
yeah, so he said how disappointing has black media been on this case? No one is questioning this verdict or the DA. You don't personally you don't have to question the verdicts, but you do have to try to make sense how they got to it. I personally don't think I think it's an inconsistent verdict in the sense that the third degree charge was not intentional, but the harassment was intentional. I don't know how you arrive at that. I that's just inconsistent to me, because one requires obviously premeditation. How do you premeditate to arrest somebody when they're
Right.
coming after you? That's inconsistent. So that should have failed. But at the same time, if that one wins, the reckless should have failed, because again they were coming after them. So it may have been
that could be appealable, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Inconsistent. What did I post the other day? Hold on.
Inconsistent. Yeah, you did say
Verdicts,
inconsistent
right?
verdicts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
You did
mean,
say
yeah, inconsistent verdicts, improper evidence, juror misconduct, that one going to sleep, inconsistent verdicts, obviously prosecutorial misconduct, but that's going to be hard to get. Abuse of discretion is possible because you decide you want to try me, but not her. And she basically did the same things that I did and admitted to it.
right.
So there's a few ways that they can play it without the ineffective assistance of counsel, because like I said, not only would that destroy a friendship, but it would mess up her ability to get future clients. You know what I mean? And like I said, even though it's a fail-safe and probably almost a guaranteed win, do you really want to do that?
Yeah.
The only way I would do that is if I was given a public defender, because at that point, you don't have, and that's somebody that you just got assigned, and hey, you got to deal with it. But if it's somebody that you choose, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. And Priya wasn't his only attorney. You had Seth Zuckerman, and then there was another guy. He didn't do anything, but he was part of the team. I mean, he didn't say anything, but he was there, part of the team. So, if that's the case, you're going to have to throw all of them under the bus.
Right. Before we close out, I just want to play this. Oh, sorry. Before we close out, I just want to play this this great man audio.
Your friends know what job I'm on and go, I think Grace is going to be out of commission. You know
I won't.
No, you understand that? Because that team, that unit, right? Grace has to be in a certain mindset to support Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama's wife.
I know. I'm not. I shouldn't have gone out. I'm sorry.
Let me just lay it out for you, right? If I am, I'm just gonna say my temper, my shit, my trauma, blah, all that said, right? And I'm not saying I'm a great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in.
And that's it. That's really it, really. I have nothing more to say.
He is a great man. You are a great man, Jonathan Michael Majors. Don't let that snowflake try to mind game you. Talk about, I went to that again. Like, that was not the point. That was not the point. The point was, don't come in here pissy, drunk, embarrassing me. But do you not see the gaslighting that she was doing? That was not the point. He did not say don't go out. He said don't come back shit-faced. That's what he said. Oh, it's definitely manipulation. That's not the issue, but you're going to try to make it seem like the issue. So now you're abused. You know what I mean? Like that was, and he made it clear that that was not the issue. The issue is you came home drunk with your friend. You embarrassing me in front of my trainer. You know what I mean? Like, get your act together. Like,
right. Oh, by the way, yes, I was muted, and it was me again. Sorry, guys. I would just say what I was saying was, if you just change, if you just change the tone from, I should have gone out. If you change it from I shouldn't have gone out to okay, fine, I shouldn't have gone out.
I can hear him. I don't know why you guys are saying he's muted. I hear him.
Oh no, it was muted on the scene, but
okay.
I think they're trying to catch up. I think that
oh yeah, because you never muted on my end.
Yeah, but thank you so much, by the way, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you so much, for taking part in the polls, and thinking that I don't know why you guys think I go for why.
But you do though. Your statistics is shot, buddy. 3/4.
I literally said 4. It's literally 4. Like I've only had 3 long-term partners, or partners that are considered long-term, like 4, but the rest have been flings, and yeah, the majority are black women. I don't know. I mean, now I'm on trial for some reason. I don't know.
No, because
am I gonna get sent to the gulag? Am I gonna get sent to the gulag?
No, I feel like this is a discussion that has to be had, because at the end of the day, this is why we're having this conversation, right, Heinz? This is exactly why we're having this conversation from the Americans' perspective. I'm not talking about how things go over in the UK. I'm talking about here in the United States. This is why we are here. This is why I met you. This is why I met Dre, Pam, Kat, everybody. This is why we are here. And this is a discussion that needs to be had. This is not about being prejudiced. It's not about, picking on a certain, because she's not even all the way white. Her dad is from the Middle East. And I feel like her mom might be too, because she looked a little ethnic. But it's not, the issue is how the justice system is largely against black men in America. And the minute you indulge in white women, your likelihood of winning any kind of criminal case is slim to none, unless you're O.J. Simpson. And we know he was guilty. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. And I think it's just a cautionary tale. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we can't just go out and just have fun, meet somebody, fall in love, do what we do.
Right.
But this is a serious issue above and beyond, having kids and the kids being confused. And my whole family is multiracial, entire family. And I still would not for a permanent mate that I'm having kids with. Absolutely not. And Cochran paid the price too, Donnell. All of them did. All the ones that got that man off for killing that lady. It's 6 feet under. So.
Oh, they all been white. Oh, come on, man. You guys go, okay, fine. I don't know. This is why, see, this is why I don't care and don't speak about because it doesn't matter what you say. You can literally, I don't know. I mean, anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Like I said, you're in a whole different culture, though. You're in a whole different culture. And again, I'm just messing with you, but here in the United States, it's not a flex. And that whole Nick Cannon and his nonsense, he next. Watch, mark my words. He next.
I'm surprised he hasn't got Me Too'd by now.
Oh, he next. It's coming. Because everybody going down. You got Diddy. You got, now they done got the preacher out there in Texas. They done got him. Everybody going down. Illuminati cashed in all their chips. They're not playing with nobody right now. So Nick Cannon next, because he was the one that made that whole comment about being with white women is a status symbol because it's so taboo, and proceeded to breed with about 15 of them. So he next. Watch.
Breed. These words.
Well, that's
anyway.
what he's doing. He's breeding because he's not wifing any of them. He's not in a relationship with any of them.
Oh my
he's just
gosh.
getting them pregnant and having a bunch of kids.
Oh my gosh, you guys are horrible, man. That poll was 50% earlier, and now it's 53% white. Just because I gave you guys are horrible. Hey, you guys would never know my preferences. Damn it, like that. Anyway,
don't get upset. I was just messing with you. But like I said, it's a whole different dynamic in the UK. So we can't even compare the UK to the United States in that regard. But in the United States of America, be careful. If you bring somebody over here like Jonathan did, if you find somebody over here, be careful. This is a cautionary tale that some basic everyday incident at home can get you a conviction. Some everyday thing, like you burn the toast, I throw the toast on the floor, you decide to call 911, I'm going to jail. Now I got 2 misdemeanors on me and lost my job. So y'all be careful. Yeah, Nick Cannon is a whole clown. A whole clown and a coon. But that's a whole other episode.
Oh my. Wow.
But yeah, I'm not gonna hold you anymore. Just be careful out there. If you decide to immigrate to the United States, make sure you do it with a sister. Because guess what? If you get in trouble for domestic, they're going to get citizenship and you're going to sit your ass right back to London. Because I posted that too. You know, the domestic violence.
No criminal record, no, not even an arrest to my name. So I'm proud about that. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for laying that law down when I was younger. Like, that law had to be laid down. Like, hey, don't do this, don't do that. But no, honestly, date who you want. Honestly, just in my opinion, the only thing I would say is avoid thoughts. Avoid thoughts. That's the only. But you said
thugs.
Oh, thoughts.
Oh, thoughts. Yeah, that.
I don't know how you guys say it. I'm trying to like horse. Let me just say pretty like that. Horse.
Okay, but let me just end it with this. All right. I do, in their defense, the Jamie Foxxes, the Jonathan Majors, the what's the basketball player name that Jonathan Majors was supposed to play? Shoot, it's on the tip of my tongue. All of them have the same backstory. They all said that growing up, they were called ugly. Their lips were too big. Their nose was too big. Their hair was too kinky. They were too dark. This, that, and the third. A lot of them said that they were told that. All the black women on this live, please stop doing that. Please stop doing that. Because at the end of the day, that's why a lot of our men end up in a predicament that they end up in when it comes to white women white women or white adjacent women making false accusations against them, because they tend to stick with what appreciates them at the time. It's safe. White women and white adjacent women have provided a safe space for these ugly, too dark, too kinky hair, too big lips, too big nose black men, to where they don't even feel comfortable being around us. I love me a boot black man, okay? Bigger the lips, the bigger the nose, the blacker the skin, the better, okay? But that's me. I've never had those issues. I've never said things like that about black men. But a lot of us do, because colorism is very real here in the United States. Even to this day, you can tell by Instagram. Everybody wants to have the Malaysian hair, the Indian hair, the discomplexion. Even in Africa and Haiti and countries and Dominican Republic, people are bleaching their skin. It's a thing, and it's unfortunate. And I think that that's what a lot of, and especially men, of African origin, original African origin, not the mutts like here in the United States. A lot of them say the same thing. Black women called me ugly. Black girls called me ugly. Black girls said my nose was too big. My lips was too big. And that's why I like white women, because they were the only women that did not make me feel ugly. Okay? Stop it. Stop it. Because Sister B, I feel you, because I've also said on the flip side of that coin, once you come out of your wherever you grew up, there's a whole world of women out here that will love and appreciate you. But human nature always prevails. Okay? Like if somebody, if growing up all I heard was, you're too light, we don't like light skin. And I actually was told that, by my own grandmother. Oh, you damn near white. And that made me have a complex to where I always wanted to be darker. And that might be why I gravitated toward darker Black men, because I wanted darker children. But the thing is, if I would have took that to heart and been like, oh, wow, it's not, maybe I should just only date white guys because people in my own, culture don't think I'm Black enough. That would have been what started it. But for me, the opposite happened. You know what I mean? Yeah, I dipped my toe in the snow a little bit, but it wasn't with the goal of having white children or because I did not like Black men. You know what I mean? So again, I'm not going to hijack this show, but I feel like the moral of the story is for us Black women, even if you don't find a certain type of Black man attractive, don't say that. Don't do that. Just do what you like, but don't downgrade. And because I see it a lot in the comments, even on the Jonathan Major stuff. Oh, he just like a woman that's ugly in the face and got a nice body. I've seen that. And that man is far from ugly. Far from ugly. But we've been so conditioned to think that anything that's too African, too dark is not attractive. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it because we're destroying ourselves. And we're pushing ourselves into doing destructive things that lead to situations like this. And it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I feel terrible about it. And the only thing, exactly, Star Child, exactly. I had Jimmy, one of Jimmy's parents is from Africa. And he told me that the other day. And I remember growing up hearing that a lot, African booty scratcher. That's what the Americans called anybody that looked too African. You might not have even been from Africa and they called you that because you were too dark and your hair was too kinky and this, that, and the third. Yep. Exactly. I'm sorry, Heinz. I'll do that on my own show. I'll get a little more.
I was literally about to say this is what Danny talks about all the time on our channel. Make sure you go check her out. All the people on all the guests that were on here, their channels are in the description. Go give them a subscribe. Go give them a follow. Danny is an amazing person. She a lot of the stuff that she talks about makes a lot of sense, and in my opinion, there is always a talking point to everything. I personally think that, and I said this in the previous stream that we had on the verdict. The moral of the story here is, at least it's a cautionary tale on how much we almost have to be perfect nowadays. It's not necessarily, I don't personally see it as if you're in a relationship with a white woman, everyone's out to get you or anything like that. But I do think there is a racial component into it. But I think it's more on if you're just a man and you just place your hands on a woman, you're toast. I come from that, but from that perspective. That doesn't mean that what Daniel said today is invalid, by the way. I just want to make that clear. That doesn't mean what she said is invalid. I just personally think that the act of him lifting her up and putting her in the car, if you were to even, like, if you would take out the race and all of that, everyone's saying right to jail. Go to jail, right there, because you're just, for some reason, you cannot touch a woman at all, not even to get your stuff back. So my takeaway from
not Black. This is why we are here, Heinz. Let's just call a thing. We are here because he lifted up a little white woman and sat her back in the car. Had he lifted my big ass up, we would not be here. And you know that. We would not be having this discussion. I don't even know if he could have lifted me up. But had he tried, we would not be here. Because I'm a certain height, I'm a certain weight, and there's no way that he could hurt that big bitch. No,
like I said, I don't disagree with your points, because we've come to establish that she was the one that volunteered the choking to the officers. So you can argue that to be her weaponizing the fact that he's scared of the police and say, okay, cool, I'm gonna get you in trouble for breaking out with me. There are so many ways to look at it, and I'm not saying that that's not the case here. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, at least for me, if I'm dating whoever my next prospective partner is, and they reach for my phone, they can have it. Our relationship is over at that. Our relationship is over at that point. I don't have anything to talk about. That's what.
So Heinz is volunteering to be a battered man. So I'm
volunteering. Yeah, have it. I'll just put my iPhone tracker on or whatever, submit it to the police as a stolen phone. He's gonna come back to me in a couple of days anyway. I know my texts are not gonna be incriminating that you're looking for. You've given me an out, because I'm not gonna continue dating you anymore if you can't even trust me. That's my position. I come from, but not everyone thinks like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Not everyone is going to be like that. But again, like I've said, most of you don't know my history, and maybe one day I'll talk about it on this channel. I don't really talk about things like this on this channel. It's mainly just legal stuff, and rarely do I share my opinions. I think this is the first time on this channel. Yeah, I really don't. It's just me researching and bringing out stuff, and like rarely do I do it. I would probably make a take. Let me caveat that, actually. It's rare that I will share personal opinions, like devoid of the case, if that makes sense, like my relationship history, all those things. I wouldn't share it. Am I making sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
But
people like transparency. Nobody's asking for your blood type and your whatever it's called in the UK for social security number. People like transparency and relatability too, and if anything this case has done, it makes you look in the mirror a little harder. You know what I mean? And say, that could be me,
Yeah, like
that could be me. Like, what do I do to avoid this? Like, do I walk around paranoid? Do I wear a body cam? That could be my brother. That could be my husband. That could be anybody.
Yeah, you don't have to go that far as wearing a body cam. I mean, I wouldn't dissuade against it. I mean,
it's like, but it's that bad. Like, you could literally be in the grocery store and, like I said, yank a cart from somebody that yanked your cart away and end up being in America anyway. Like I said, I don't know what goes on over across the pond, but in America, this is literally the precedent this is setting. That you can't even defend yourself and not risk ending up losing everything.
Right. Latoya says, damn, Heinz. Yeah, look, maybe this is in reference to what I said, but I'm being legit. I'm actually being legit. I don't, unless we are married, then all you have to do is cheat. But then I'll put up with a lot more. I've been married. I've been through.
Damn, how old are you? I thought you were like in your 20s.
I'm 32.
That's
like
young. Way younger than me. Over a decade younger than me.
Like I've been abused. I've been cheated on so many times. It's just got to a point that you do see it though. You just tend to see. No, it's not poor Heinz. You just learn. You just learn. Like the one thing I've never had in my life is boundaries. I just never had it. If you cross them, I'm walking. And before I put a ring on it, it's going to be extremely difficult. I'm not going to commit that easily. Do you know what I mean? Because I know once we go past that threshold, I'm going to need to be a bit more forgiving, a bit more patient, a bit more all of those things. But if we are not married, don't ever grab for my phone. I'm going to throw the book at you. I will literally walk away because I know I'm being threatened right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe not, hey, I'm gonna kill you kind of threat, but you come past my personal space, that's a threat. And I know when I feel threatened, it's either this or run away. And I'm running away. I'm running away to the nearest police station. I'm calling. I'm putting in an incident report. Hey, my phone has been stolen. I did not do anything. You got the cameras. But anyway, that's me.
And you know, in the hypocrisy of it all, I don't know if this is, again, traveled across the pond, but here in the United States, it's all these new things: body autonomy, body agency, don't touch me. You have to ask permission to touch me. You have to ask permission of your toddlers to change their diapers. I mean, it's going that far. And my thing is, why doesn't that apply in this case? No, there was actually a doctor on the news in the United States.
I can't believe you actually said that. You have to ask permission to change diapers.
There was a doctor that I'll find it and I'll send it to you in an email. There was a doctor that came on a news show saying that if your child is of the age where they can understand you speaking to them, you need to ask them permission to change their diapers. This is where we are now. So that being said, why does it not apply in this situation? Why is it okay for her to snatch his phone and him not to get it back? Why is it okay for her not to ask permission to be in his personal space? But if the shoe was on the other foot, then, what about my body autonomy, my agency, my this, my that? It's bull. And, I don't know. No, Idris is another one. He's another good-looking one. But yeah, he's only dated black women or black adjacent women, because I think his first baby mama is part Asian, but she's largely black. She looks black. She just has Asian features. And then the other ones are all black. His current wife is African. She's Somalian, I think. I'll
close out with this. Oh, wow. A lot more people. The numbers have reduced from 53 to 46%. Well, I'll take it. It's I'm surprised no one else has voted more for Latina. Oh, well, it is what it is.
Probably because you're in London, it's probably harder to find, I guess.
Elephant and Castle. I go salsa dancing every once in a while.
Yeah, but population-wise, are they? Because, they could just live in Spain. Why are they coming to, you know what I mean? True. Right. Here there's a lot of Hispanics because we got
the Bronx. Yeah. Yeah, I heard about the Bronx. So.
Oh yeah, I grew up in Spanish.
And Florida, Miami, all them.
Florida is all Cuban, Mexican. New York is a lot of Puerto Rican, Dominican.
Anyway, thank you so much, Danny, for coming on. Definitely subscribe to her channel. The links are in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's show, and I I'm glad that we had this conversation, and I'm glad that we can. I'm going to be doing another video to go in to look at the jury instructions. So I'm going to look at that and research into it, and maybe try and arrive how what it all means, etc. With the help of a lawyer, of course, verifying everything. But thank you everyone for tuning in. If you've made it this far, because you have, it's 2 hours 35. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this, because it helps this channel grow. And yeah, we're gonna say good night. Good evening to you. Good night to everyone in the UK, and take care of yourself, Sana. I'm pissed off with prayer now. Yeah, you should be. I am anyway. But I know Danny cuss a lot of snack. But Sana, you should be in bed too. You can be pissed off with prayer. You should be in bed too. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Take care of yourself.
Good night, y'all. Good morning to some of you. Good night for those of you here in the United States.
Good night. If you want some more coverage, you can find on legal cases. You can find videos on my channel. Done loads of them. Make sure you check them out. Anyway, I'll close out on that. Take care of yourself and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh gosh.
You all right? There's nobody under the eyes.